Most gardeners think of composting as a simple process: toss your kitchen scraps in a pile, wait a few months, and harvest the soil. But what if you could turn everyday waste, paper, vegetable peels and fruit scraps, into a permanent soil engine that keeps regenerating itself year after year? For the first minute, consider this: a single pile or bed that continuously cycles nutrients, builds fertility and produces rich, living soil without constant labour. I discovered that by combining these common materials with an understanding of microbial life, you can create a system that never stops feeding itself. This is not just theory. It's a practical, replicable approach that can transform your garden, farm or backyard into a self-sustaining ecosystem. Whether you are a novice gardener or an experienced steward of soil, this method allows you to harness the overlooked potential of paper and peels, turning them into powerful allies for plant growth. Paper and peels become more than waste when microbes are invited to work. The first insight is that microbes are the true engines of soil fertility. Left alone, paper and vegetable scraps may rot slowly, attracting pests or drying out. But when properly layered and combined, these materials create an ideal habitat for bacteria, fungi and worms. I began by shredding paper and layering it with citrus peels, banana skins and potato peelings. The paper provided carbon and structure, the peels added nitrogen and moisture, and the microbes multiplied rapidly, initiating decomposition. Within a few weeks, the pile began generating heat, indicating microbial activity was in full swing. To apply this practically, shred or tear paper into strips, avoiding glossy or heavily inked sheets. Combine it with fruit and vegetable peels and maintain a balance, roughly equal parts carbon-rich paper and nitrogen-rich peels. Moisten the mixture until it feels like a damp sponge, and let microbes do the rest. A permanent soil engine depends on thoughtful layering. I learned that alternating paper and peel layers, about 2 to 3 inches thick, creates airflow, retains moisture, and prevents compaction. Occasionally, I added small amounts of garden trimmings or aged compost between layers to accelerate microbial activity. The result was a pile that broke down evenly, feeding itself from top to bottom without stagnation or odour problems. For gardeners, the step is simple. Create alternating layers, maintain moisture, and allow natural microbial cycles to process the materials. Over time, the system becomes self-regulating, with finished compost forming at the bottom, while new layers on top continue decomposing. Even a well-layered pile will stall if microbes don't have the right conditions. In my trials, I found that keeping the mixture slightly damp and aerating it every few weeks keeps the soil engine running. Microbes require oxygen for efficient decomposition, and worms thrive in a well-structured, moist environment. By lightly turning the upper layers and, keeping an eye on the moisture, the pile stayed active through those hot summers and even during drier periods, creating a sort of near-continuous cycle of decomposition and nutrient release. Practically speaking, just test the moisture by squeezing a handful of the mixture. It should feel a bit like a wrung-out sponge. Turn the top layers gently to bring in some air, and always check for any signs of excessive dryness or waterlogging. Over time, these small adjustments, you see, keep the microbial engine running smoothly without really disrupting its ongoing processes. The real power of this system, honestly, lies in microbial transformation. Within just a few weeks, paper and peels are no longer recognizable. They become this rich, humus-like soil. The microbes get to work breaking down complex materials, recycling nutrients, and creating a structure that holds onto water while supporting plant roots beautifully. Worms migrate naturally into the mixture, further enhancing aeration and nutrient distribution. I noticed that plants grown in soil derived from this process were more vigorous, with stronger roots and higher yields than those grown in traditional compost. To replicate this, continue feeding the pile with small amounts of kitchen waste shredded paper or garden scraps. The microbial community responds quickly, regenerating the pile and producing a constant supply of high-quality soil. This approach effectively turns waste into a permanent, self-renewing resource for your garden. One of the most exciting aspects of this method is flexibility. I applied it in raised beds, in large compost bins, and directly on the ground in garden plots. In each scenario, the combination of paper, peels, and microbes formed a stable, nutrient-rich layer that continued to feed plants throughout the season. You know, even in those colder months, the microbial activity slowed but didn't stop completely. This ensures that the soil engine resumes full activity as the temperatures rise. For practical application, it's important to choose a setup that suits your space and needs. A raised bed allows for easy harvesting of finished compost, while a bin can contain materials neatly. Open piles work well for larger gardens and allow natural rainfall to maintain moisture levels. In all cases, the principles remain the same: layering, moisture control, and regular but minimal feeding. The key takeaway here is that soil life never stops if you provide the right conditions. Paper and peels, when combined with microbes, transform from waste into a permanent soil engine that regenerates itself continuously. This system produces fertile, water-retentive soil, supports healthy plants, and reduces the need for commercial fertilizers. By observing natural cycles, providing the right balance of materials, and maintaining moisture and aeration, anyone can turn simple scraps into a lifelong asset for their garden or farm. If you found this guide valuable and want more practical methods to harness natural soil processes, subscribe to Husbandry and share this video with fellow gardeners and farmers who want to turn everyday waste into an unstoppable source of fertile, living soil.